Kirby Smart came out and said that he does not plan on changing his recruiting strategy and that he is prioritizing relationships over transactions. Georgia beat writer for Athens Banner-Herald Marc Weiszer joins the show to break down what Kirby Smart said about not changing his recruiting strategy, as well as previewing Georgia's 2025 season with Gunnar Stockton starting at quarterback. I will also break down Mike Gundy, Oklahoma State head coach, admitting he thought NIL would go away, as well as Shedeur Sanders hosting a community event to support those displaced by the Rainbow Terrace Apartment explosion out in Cleveland. All that and more here on Bailey Price Media Live on the other side. Welcome back to another edition of Bailey Price Media Live.
Bailey Price Media, I like it.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Welcome back to another edition of Bailey Price Media Live. Happy Thursday, folks. We got a great show for you planned, talking all things Georgia Bulldogs football here in 2025 with Gunnar Stockton at quarterback. We got Georgia beat writer Marc Weiszer joining the show. So if you're watching, folks, make sure you go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, become a member of the Bailey Price Media Army today. Man, this is going to be a great show for you. As well, I'm also going to break down Mike Gundy saying he thought NIL would go away. I thought that was a really interesting comment from Mike Gundy. And looking at the transfer portal rankings from 2023, 24, and then this past season, you can really see a difference. And we're going to discuss that all here on Bailey Price Media Live. I can't thank you all enough for tuning in. But without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in our special guest, beat writer for the Athens Banner-Herald Marc Weiszer joins the show. Marc, happy Thursday. Thank you for joining. How you doing, my man?
Doing well, Bailey. How's it going?
Doing great. Appreciate you joining. Just was live over on 0 to 60 talking Colorado. Now we're here, my show talking Georgia. Marc, I appreciate you joining. Before we kind of preview Georgia's season here, I wanted to ask you about Kirby Smart kind of coming out and discussing some comments here about his recruiting strategy, saying he does not want to change his recruiting strategy, has no plans of changing it, and he says we sell relationships over transactions. Now, in this era of college football in 2025, where NIL, revenue sharing, and the transfer portal are in full effect, people are calling it the Wild Wild West, so to speak. Kirby's, staying to his guns, elected to stay traditional as much as he can, so to speak. Marc, what do you take away from these comments here from Kirby?
Yeah, I mean, Georgia's in a position where developing NFL talents, sending guys to the pros, first-round picks year after year, they can sell something that maybe not every program in the SEC can to that level of player development. So if it comes down to a bidding war between Georgia and Texas, between Georgia and Miami, Kirby's going to make some decisions about how he wants to spend that money in terms of, the revenue share now. And then guarantees that might be made about third-party NIL deals. He wants to pay guys for what they do once they've played a season or two at Georgia. He doesn't want to, give a guy the money before they walk on the practice field. Now, a lot of times, if you want to be in the game, if you want to get these top guys, you're going to have to pay at a certain level. But Kirby maybe is making decisions, not to put too much money in one bag, so to speak. And, you hear from guys that pick Georgia, they talk about the relationships they do have with the coaches. They had a guy, linebacker out of Maryland yesterday that picked Georgia over Oregon, over Michigan. And he talked about Glenn Schumann, who is coached 3 Butkus Award winners. So, that's what he means by that. Georgia lost, a linebacker from in-state to Texas Tuesday. They lost Justice Terry to Texas last December as well. So, they're going to lose some guys that maybe, want to get paid right away.
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. And I think it's interesting, Kirby. You look at Georgia; they're not in the top 10, I believe, on top of my head, and spending it all. They're not anywhere close to that. They're electing kind of, remain old school, kind of rely on, we've been there and done that. We've won two natties and put plenty of players in the pros. And we'll see if see how that translates in 2025 versus teams that are electing to go out and full go and spending like Texas, the Longhorns that you just mentioned. Um, but Mark, I can't thank you enough for joining the show, my man. Let's go ahead and preview Georgia's 2025 season with Gunnar Stockton at quarterback. After taking over for Carson Beck's injury last season, now he has a full offseason to prepare as Georgia's starter. What are your expectations for Gunnar Stockton as Georgia's starter headed into 2025?
Gunner's a guy that really won over the locker room, before he even kind of came in for Carson Beck when Carson had that elbow injury on that Hail Mary before halftime
Yep.
against Texas. You could tell how much his teammates really loved him and wanted to win with him. I don't think you're going to see Gunner, having the same kind of NIL flash that Carson did. Now Carson, did that after 1 year as a starter, guy that was being projected as a first round draft pick, but Carson has a different personality than Gunner. He's a different type of quarterback. I mean, Gunner's going to, attack a first down marker and get his helmet knocked off like you saw in the SEC championship game.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to, if you looked at any of his high school tape from Rabin County, he was playing the same way there. Georgia's going to need the players around him to play better, especially at wide receiver. They brought in Noah Thomas from Texas A&M. They brought in Zachariah Branch from USC.
Yep.
They can't have the drops they had last year, and the offensive line is going to need to protect him better.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you just mentioned Zachariah Branch. Discuss his potential this season with Gunnar Stockton at quarterback. Him coming over from USC, I think, is a great get for Georgia. Now, I'm curious to see how Georgia uses him. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, they have other weapons, so it's not going to be like they need to feed him the ball all the time. I mean, they have some good tight ends in Oscar Delp and Lawson Lucky. They have Dylan Bell, who's their leading returning receiver back. They have Colby Young, the Miami transfer that was suspended after like 4 or 5 games last year, was kind of touch and go whether his Georgia career was over, but he's back. But Branch is a guy that's probably under 6 feet. Get the ball in his hands on the screen passes and put him in the return game. He can be dangerous. He had a really good year as a freshman at USC, big time returner there. And I think with Georgia, being able to have multiple weapons on the outside and in the slot, I don't know if they can key on one guy in particular.
No, absolutely, absolutely, and I'm curious to see how he fits in Georgia's wide receiver room. You just mentioned Colby Young, Dylan Bell as well. I wanted to ask you about Oscar Delp and his role kind of in Georgia's offense in 2025. What are your expectations for him? Is this a season where he can really step up and become a real premier tight end in college football? What are your expectations for Oscar Delp in 2025?
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's going to be. I mean, obviously, he's not going to be Brock Bowers because nobody is, right? Like Brock's already the number one tight end in the NFL,
Freakazoid,
Darnell Washington was a different body type.
Another freakazoid,
yeah. But Georgia, they rely on the tight end with Todd Hartley. Oscar was really disappointed in his own season last year. He kind of came on again in the second half, but he had a lot of hype as a possible, top tight end for the draft. He went to the combine the year before as a top underclassman to kind of see what that world might look like. And then he had some NIL deals last year. And he said he told us in the spring, he was kind of distracted. So, Georgia didn't feed the tight end as much as that they have in the past. They brought in a transfer from the Pac-12, and he didn't get many touches himself. So I think Delp is kind of due to kind of live up to what he did as a sophomore and build on that.
Definitely, and that's what I'd expect as well. Now let's go to the running back room here. This is something I'm really curious about. Your running back room here. Nate Frazier obviously leading the way. You got McCray in the running back room as well. What are your expectations for this running back room in 2025 with these two kind of leading the way?
Yeah, it's interesting. Josh McCray, a late kind of transfer addition after spring practice, came from Illinois and kind of a burly guy that can fight. Kirby talked about him as a guy to get the first round yardage and like third and short, fourth and short, and be a physical guy. And Frazier's a guy that can kind of get loose and break things away. And without Trevor Etienne here anymore, I think Frazier's the guy. And McCray's going to give you that veteran presence that you don't have to. Georgia always is kind of like a 1-2 punch, starting back with Nick Chubb and Sony Michel and a different combination each and every year. So
Yep.
I think you'll see those two guys kind of leading the charge this year.
Absolutely. And let's go to the trenches here, because if they're going to have a successful season, get to the NFL, it starts with the trenches here. Mark, and your perspective is great on the Bulldogs. I can't thank you enough for joining here. I would love to hear your expectations for Georgia's O-line and kind of the run game here. You got Ernest Green as your probably most notable returner, but also several other names as well here. What are your expectations for Georgia's offensive line and then the run game as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, Georgia lost 3 draft picks from the offensive line. So that's kind of a heavy losses, but they kind of underperformed last year. Ending in the Sugar Bowl against Notre Dame, where Monroe Freeling had a really rough game at left tackle, filling in for Ernest Green, and then Green has kind of moved to right tackle this year. Freeling had shoulder surgery, but they have guys that have starting experience, but really haven't been kind of the guy per se. Drew Bobo is going to step in at center. You'll have, like I mentioned, Freeling at left tackle, Micah Morris at one of the guard spots. So it'd be interesting to see. Stacey Searles, the offensive line coach, was under a lot of pressure, just like Mike Bobo was in the offseason.
Yeah.
There's an expectation that this line needs to perform better, and it might be a thing where even though you lost draft quality players, maybe this group will gel better and perform better.
How do you feel about Drew Bobo at the center position? I feel like he's due for a big season this year.
Yeah, I mean, he's the coach's son, right? The offensive coordinator's son, but he stepped in for a couple games last year due to injury, and he performed better than expected. One of them was against Auburn, where he was committed at one point, where his father was offensive coordinator. So I think he'll be fine. Georgia's this will be the 3rd center for Georgia in 3 years. I think he's in good shape. That's not really a big question mark that I have.
Absolutely. Shout out to Joe Cord for the donation. Much love, and I appreciate you, Joe Cord. Much respect, and absolutely. Joe says, I think with teams hitting 25, 30 mil and Georgia is sticking to it, if it works, it would be fun to laugh at Texas Tech. He's an Oklahoma fan. Mark, let's go over to the defensive side of the ball. Mark, I love your perspective on the Bulldogs here. I want to ask you about Christian Miller. Obviously a freaking dude. I expect a massive season from him. What are your expectations for him and then Georgia's D-line as a whole?
Georgia's, when you lose guys on the defensive front, and you can include Jalen Walker in there because he's an inside linebacker that they lined up on the edge.
Yeah.
You lose Michael Williams. Miller's a guy that's had a lot of potential, and it's going to be his time to shine. I'm just looking down at their depth chart because some of these guys, I can't remember all their names. They have so much guys that go through. Jordan Hall and Joseph Jonai Ajane are other guys there. And Xavier McLeod is the guy I'm kind of looking to see if he can really step in. He's a South Carolina transfer that really flashed a lot last year when he did get PT. And I think he has the potential to really be a guy that's on the rise as well. But stopping the run is one of the areas that Georgia and Kirby Smart have talked about. They really need to do better last year. If you looked at some of the games, Mississippi State, Georgia Tech, Georgia was kind of uncharacteristic and giving up pretty big chunks of yards, and that hadn't really been something that you're used to seeing at Georgia. So they're really looking to kind of get that fixed.
Definitely. And the Falcons took 2 of your pass rushers, I believe, off the top of my head, 1 or 2 of them, including Michael Williams. Now, I want to ask you about somebody you guys did get, who I'm actually a big fan of because I watched a lot of Army last season. Elo Meduzzi. What are your expectations for him? He has 6.5 sacks last season. What are your expectations for him and Georgia's defense here?
I'm curious about why you watch so much Army, more than just Army Navy, though, huh?
Yeah, because Army was fun to watch last season. They had a great quarterback, and they actually put up a lot of points. Were actually a pretty damn good team. I enjoyed watching them.
Yeah, outside linebacker and kind of the edge rusher was a big need. You mentioned Jalen Walker. They lost Tyrone Ingram Dawkins, who could have come back and went pro and got drafted. They had a guy who would have been a starter transfer to Missouri, so they were kind of mining the transfer portal to see if there was anyone they thought could come in. And I think he's going to be a guy they're going to plug and play right away. Really count on him. He could be one of their best pass rushers. And impressive film, like you mentioned, from Army. Level of competition will step up, but he looks like he has kind of the body type and the skill set to be effective.
Definitely. And I think a great gift for you guys. I hope he steps up and can fill the role of those pass rushers lost to the NFL here. Now let's go to the DB position. Obviously, Dalen Everett is going to be one of the best, probably your guys' best corner. But I have a question for you. How do you expect Georgia to fill the loss of Micah Starks, or in the safety position? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, KJ Bolden was not a starter last year. Dan Jackson, Malachi Starks kind of were, but if you look at the snaps that he played, I think he had as many or about as much as Dan Jackson. They moved Malachi Starks a lot to the star nickel spot, and then Bolden was on the field, and he was a big get for them out of Buford High School, a school that Georgia, for one reason or another, really hadn't recruited well or hadn't been able to get some of the guys that they wanted, and that's kind of changed. Starting with KJ Bolden, they have a couple commitments this year from that school. So Bolden's a big time playmaker also, and I think he's the guy in the secondary that you need to watch out for. And then it'll remain to be seen who else is the other starting safety. It could be Ja'Cory Thomas. They brought in several transfers, but none of them really kind of rose to that level that looks like that they would definitely be a starter yet. So it's kind of a wait and see there.
Yeah. You also got Zion Branch coming over from SC. I don't know how he's been doing so far, but I would expect him to maybe get some burn as well at that.
Yeah, Branch is interesting because he was probably less heralded. He kind of looked at it. Oh, is that just Zachariah's brother? But you did hear his name a lot this spring, and maybe he's of the transfers they brought in the secondary. He's probably the one you heard the most about.
Really? Okay, yeah. So that makes me optimistic because like you just mentioned, he kind of went under the radar because his brother coming over, and I mean everybody talks about that. And now that's it. That's an interesting little tidbit there. That makes me excited. Now, Mark, going into 2025, are your expectations for Georgia to win the SEC? Is that the baseline here, that competing with Texas is going to be tough for Arch Manning? What are your expectations for Georgia going into 2025? And then we'll break down their schedule in a second.
I mean, I filled out the SEC preseason media ballot, and I was at media days this week. I put Georgia second to Texas, and it's Georgia's had a lot of losses, and Kirby Smart has talked about how young this team is with freshmen and sophomores, and Gunnar Stockton has to show that he can win the big games week in and week out. Obviously, he came in and helped them win against Texas in the championship game last year. But it's going to be for the long haul. Can he do it? Is he that level of quarterback? So we'll see. I mean, Georgia clearly can win the SEC. They can win the national championship. But right now, I like some of Texas's pieces coming back besides Arch Manning on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you there. And I think Texas is probably the team to beat in the SEC with Arch. I mean, sticking on Arch, everyone's talking him, hyping him up. I don't think people are pointing out the obvious of he sat behind Quinn Ewers for 2 years when many in his position in this era of college football would have transferred and gone out and gone started somewhere. I think that development is key, and I think that's going to really show for Arch in Texas this season. Now, Mark, I can't thank you enough for joining. Let me ask you Georgia's schedule. How are you feeling about it? I'm really curious to see how you feel about kind of a gauntlet in the middle there. But how do you feel about Georgia's schedule going into 2025? Go ahead.
I mean, I like it. If you look at the games in the red there on your graphic, they're all at home. So you have Alabama at home,
Yep.
You have Ole Miss at home, you have Texas at home. Those are games where Georgia went 1-2 last year on the road. They did win at Texas. It would be interesting to see, what Tennessee in week 3 looks like without Nico there. Is that Georgia's toughest road game? Probably is. They have Georgia Tech in Mercedes-Benz. They have Florida on a neutral field, so I'm not really counting that as a road game, even though it's in Jacksonville. But I like Georgia getting those teams at home, and I think that's going to suit them well.
No, that's a good point. Their road schedule is definitely favorable now. Georgia Tech is neutral. That's going to be a tough one at the end of the year again. Like, ooh, Haynes King coming back with Georgia. I mean, that's going to be a tough game for Georgia and Georgia Tech. It's going to be a barn burner for sure. Now, looking at Georgia versus Texas, November 15th. How to kind of break that down, preview that kind of late in the year at home though? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm just looking at what that graphic looks like. I like the fact that it's sandwiched. After I think you have that's Florida. It looked like Missouri for a second. Yeah, I mean, you'll be at Florida. Not at Florida. You'll be against Jacksonville in Florida, then at Mississippi State. But that's going to be one of the games. I mean, Alabama is going to obviously be a monster game, but so is Texas. I mean, Texas has never played in Athens, and having that thing in November, I mean, that's got to be another game day matchup, just like the Alabama game is going to be. So Georgia's had some huge games, Notre Dame in 2019 in particular, but those two games this year are going to rival it, and it's going to be some incredible atmospheres in Athens.
You got any predictions, Mark, for the season? You got any win-loss predictions at all?
I mean, I think they're going to make the 12-team playoff.
Okay.
I guess, I haven't done the game by game. I guess 10-2 would be a safe bet, but I think they're going to go further than they did last year, which was getting knocked out in the quarterfinals. Let's say semifinals as a minimum, and I'll kind of reserve the right to project that a little bit further out when I kind of dive in a little deeper.
Definitely. So you think better than last year? Believer in Gunnar Stockton is what I'm gonna gather.
Yeah, I mean, they won a national championship. Actually, won 2 national championships with Stetson Bennett, and I don't think the Gunnar. I don't think the Gunnar Stockton necessarily is going to be as much of a dual threat as Stetson Bennett. I mean, I think it's a little underrated about what Stetson did with his feet. But it would be interesting to see what Mike Bobo and that staff has kind of spent the last 7-8 months trying to game plan around what Gunnar can do, because they really didn't have that much time. 3 weeks between the championship game and Notre Dame, and so they've been kind of probably adding some pages to that playbook. And I like the group around them on offense, particularly with the running backs and wide receivers that you mentioned.
Georgia can run the ball, they have a shot, I believe, with Gunnar. I mean, him having a full offseason to develop and, learn the system as Georgia's starter, I think it'll do dividends. Now, looking at their schedule, we'll see. Got to beat Texas, got to, win some of these games. We'll see. It's going to be interesting. You're certainly optimistic, Mark, and I appreciate your perspective. Can't thank you enough for joining my show here on this fine Thursday. Thank you for joining, and I'd love to have you back on again soon, man.
All right, sounds good. We can do it again.
Absolutely. Shout out to Marc Weiszer, Georgia beat writer, for the Athens Banner-Herald joining the show, giving us perspective on Georgia's 2025 season and Kirby Smart and recruiting. We also discussed that in the beginning as well. Now let me go ahead and break down Georgia's 25 schedule here. In my opinion here. Now looking at it, I mean, I think Tennessee is going to be a win for them. I've already talked about how I think Tennessee is going to be down. Now Bama, who's Bama starting quarterback? Is it Simpson? I've heard a lot of noise from Simpson. Apparently looking pretty good down there in Tuscaloosa now. So that's going to be a game to watch. I still say give them the win over that. Now the game I think people are there's 3 games here that stick out to me: Florida, Georgia Tech, and Texas. Now I'm not even going to bring up Ole Miss because Ole Miss is a big question mark to me with Lane. We'll see if Lane can, bring in a new quarterback, what he's doing at the quarterback position, because that's kind of their question mark. But to me, the big question marks are Texas, Georgia Tech, Florida. Florida's going to be a tough one. Neutral field playing against DJ Lagway. I think Florida's going to be better coming off some momentum. Florida already have played I believe they'll have already played LSU and Texas by that point. I will throw that out there. So Florida will already be, well seasoned, played against multiple good teams. So I think that's going to be a tough game for them. Texas, I think, is a loss for them because I think Texas is going to be pretty damn good. It's going to be they may go undefeated. Shit. Georgia Tech is going to be a barn burner, and revenge is like they're going to come in pissed off and ready to go. Haynes King coming back. Haynes, the running back, they're going to come in pissed off. Brett Key down there, the coach. That's going to be a barn burner. I think Georgia Tech definitely can win. That's a neutral field game too. Florida and Georgia Tech are on neutral field. Joe, from what I understand according to this graphic and their schedule from what I've read. But yeah, I would give them, I'd say 10-2, because I think they're gonna split Florida and Georgia Tech, and that might be a kind of a hot take or not. But I think they're gonna split them. Ole Miss is a question mark to me, but I think they can win it, and I think Texas is lost. So interesting. I'd say 10-2, 9-3, kind of teetering around there. But interesting. Folks, if you're watching, hit that like button. Appreciate all the support going in the chat so far. Joe, Cora, Quinn, all you guys, Roberto, my main man, I appreciate you all supporting the show. We got a lot more to talk about here outside of Georgia football here that I'd like to break down with you guys here. So let's go ahead and start off with let's talk about Mike Gundy over in Oklahoma State, Stillwater. So Mike Gundy admitted he thought NIL would go away and admitted that this is the first offseason that Oklahoma State had a transfer portal class that they paid to bring in. Take a listen to this, folks. An interesting take from Mike Gundy.
I thought this will go away. Surely this can't last. And then it just kept building momentum. And then after a point, about 18 months ago, I said, this is not going away. We're going to have to make some real adjustments here. So the truth be known, this portal class from January is the first class that we ever bought. We had not bought portal kids.
Wow.
That hurt us. Hurt us the last year or so from a depth standpoint. And that was nobody's fault. That's not the administration's fault, not the donors. That was really kind of my fault, because what I had done was taken money that had been raised through donations and spread it amongst the troops somewhat evenly to the current players. We didn't go out and solicit for players and pay them to come to our team. We did that starting in December, which I think we all would agree, if you don't do that, you're not going to survive.
Yeah, if you don't do that, you're going to survive. And Mike Gundy really had no choice but to cave in and, play the game, so to speak, when it comes to this new era of NIL and college football. You've seen Nick Saban and other coaches get out and say they don't want to play the game, they want to get out. Now it's interesting. Mike Gundy, Oklahoma State was, going into the season last year, was ranked at the top. Expected, repeat. They won the Big 12 2 years ago, and then they finished dead last. It looked absolutely horrible. Now, looking at their transfer portal class off the top of my head, I believe they finished last in the Big 12 at 24. Now, going into this season, they're actually fourth in the Big 12 and actually, I believe, have a top 30 transfer portal class. So they, have elected, after learning their mistakes of not using the transfer portal and NIL and going out and bringing in a transfer portal class, paying for a transfer portal class, they've elected to do that now. Will that pay off on the field this season? That's a big question mark to me. One thing they did also do is bring in a general manager, and this is something I really want to kind of highlight here. They brought in a general manager named Kenyatta Wright, former NFL linebacker as well here, and he talked about Mike Gundy at Big 12 Media Days. Here, take a listen.
I was always intrigued with the front office stuff, but the NFL, living in the city, none of that stuff excited me. I'm an Oklahoma boy. But when Coach Gundy came and talked to me about this role and, coming in full time and doing
I'll also note Wright is an Oklahoma State alum.
doing it, and really kind of looking at the whole operations of our front office and the future of all Cowboys, it was really intriguing. So we kind of got to model it the Cowboy way, and the way that we feel that fits us and not what everyone tells us that you have to do,
Kenyatta has an advantage because he's a great communicator. Like, everybody likes Kenyatta, and he can talk dollar figures with 19-year-old kids. Think about that, okay? If you have children that are that age yet, to talk hundreds of thousands of dollars and maybe millions of dollars with a 20-year-old and try to make sense of it, extremely difficult. He can do that. And he has unbelievable relationships with agents and representatives, and they trust him.
For me, it's the perfect fit. Yeah. And I've been able to be in the program, been able to thrive and flourish in a program, leave, and then come back, and I get to share all those pursuits with all of the kids that we bring in, and I'm not like trying to sell them a story. Yeah.
I'm going to say it right now. That's exactly what Oklahoma State needed, and especially after Mike Gundy come out saying This is the first offseason they really took it seriously. This is the first portal class they really paid to bring in. I mean, that's somebody that you guys need. That's somebody, pushing back on Coach JV saying general managers are not important. This is exactly why you need a general manager, because Mike Gundy ain't worrying about that shit. That's the truth of it. You need somebody who's going to come in there and handle that. Because if it doesn't, it falls on the head coach. And Mike Gundy already came out and said he didn't take it seriously. Now, this offseason, they're bringing a top 30 transfer portal class. They also got a safety coming over from Miami named Zaquan Patterson, who I expect to start for them. Transfer coming over from TCU, quarterback transfer. But, Joe, you asked about their quarterback situation here. Obviously got the kid Flores. Got him. I would expect him to start. It's hard for me to be optimistic about their quarterback position. You got the TCU transfer kid and then Bowen, the freshman. They're going to play. Gundy ain't going to play a freshman. So, I mean, like you mentioned, Flores, dual threat. I expect them to roll with them. Still, though, is it too late? Was Mike Gundy too late to really understand and take NIL and transfer portal and college football seriously? That is what 2025 will tell. Now, sticking on this train of NIL and transfer portal and college football, Mike Gundy also talked about making college football players employees. Take a listen.
College needs to instigate and to build that type of system, so we don't have the same 4, 5, or 6 schools that pay the most money at the end of the season in the playoffs.
But how would that manifest in actuality? How would you do that?
Well, you got to restructure the system, and you got to admit that the players are employees, and then you can build a collective bargaining. We've all talked about it, but you have to admit they're employees,
and you could actually have a salary cap if you did.
You could do it all, and you need that, and then you need an entry salary cap, You need an entry level for a high school player coming in because it's not sustainable.
See, there's two sides to this. There's folks that are big fans of it, and I just talked to Matt McChesney about this, who is all for this, all for it. Now you have JB, who's completely against it, but I think JB is completely against this whole system we're in. Now, in this system we're in right now, I see it from both sides. I think it could be beneficial. I also think it could be problematic. But you're going to remodel the whole system. Who's going to do that? Who is going to magically come in and do it? You think the NCAA, who is fucking powerless, is going to come in and do that? I just don't see it. Plus, if they're employees, they get benefits, they get paid time off, I think this is, if you can't admit it's professional football now, if they go and do that, then it's professional football. I take the student athlete, take the amateur, everything, take all that out of it. If that goes down, that's what it is. Now, I don't know if I really don't. I don't know how I feel about it. I think the NCAA is powerless, so it's tough for me to see that even happening. Now, Matt's a big fan of it. I'm not. That's the last step here, because if that happens, it's professional football, and then all of it goes out the window. So, does the NCAA or just college football, do you want to take that turn? We're already this far. I don't know. Well, something needs to be done, and something is being. I mean, the house settlement, revenue sharing stuff is being done, but it's still a unregulated Wild West product is what I'm going to describe it as. Folks, let's move forward. If you're watching, I appreciate you all tuning in on this fine Thursday. All those in the chat, I appreciate you. I appreciate all the support. I'm going to go ahead and move forward. I'm going to talk about Shedeur Sanders here. Shedeur Sanders hosted a community event to support those displaced by the Rainbow Terrace Apartment explosion and fire in Cleveland. Now, take a look at Leah Dotery and Cleveland 19 News breaking the situation down.
Event today, the Garden Valley Fun Fest, is quite a stark contrast from a couple weeks ago, June 23rd, when there was an explosion here. 44 units at the Rainbow Terrace Apartments were damaged, more than 100 people displaced. But now if you look around, hundreds of people are out here. Everyone has a smile on their face. I don't know if you can see in the distance, but Shedeur Sanders is out here playing football with members of this community. On the other side of this valley, there's food trucks, different games, inflatables, free haircuts. I talked to members from Shedeur's team. He said they pulled this thing together in about 5 days. Everything is free. They just wanted this to be a fun, uplifting community event for these people that truly have been through so much.
Man, seeing this from Shedeur, again, doing the right things, doing the little things off the field. Shedeur, I love to see it. You know, I went at him about the speeding tickets because it was fucking stupid. Seeing this is really, really good. Shedeur, you're doing the right thing. Keep doing the right thing. Now you got a quarterback battle to work yourself through, and training camp is right around the corner. And I can't wait to see it. He's got to battle Dylan Gabriel. I think Flacco's a starter there, and Kenny Pickett probably going to be shipped out. Much respect to Shedeur. Seems like Cleveland fans are also embracing Shedeur. Take a look at this interaction.
Good. How you doing, man? Good.
Clip that, chat. That ball just hit him in the face. Clip that.
I'm scared. I go back.
Why are you scared? You're on Twitch too. Why are you scared? You can't be scared.
Yeah. Welcome to the city. I wish you the best, man. Turn us up. You already know.
They give Shedeur a lot of crap, and Shedeur isn't perfect, but a lot of the stuff people say is straight BS because he's a good kid at the end of the day. Here's more of his comments here from Cleveland 19 News.
The situation, everything that happened here, and I was out of town when it happened, so I was able to put things together, structure things the best we could in the small amount of time we had to make sure everybody's accommodated. It's bigger than football, you know? Like, it's bigger than football out here.
Browns rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders is a guy that is very new to Northeast Ohio, but he's already organized a few different community service events, just not only to meet different members of the community, but help out areas that there's need. There was one woman walking around that I spoke with who said, I've grown up here my whole life. I've never seen something like this. To have a guy like Shedeur with the platform that he has to be able to bring members of the community together and be able to help out is something this community is very excited about. I also spoke to Councilman Richard Starr, who told me that everyone that was displaced from the fire has now all officially been rehomed. So that is great news.
I love to hear it. And one thing coming from the chat, Joe, you're 100% right. People, unless they're straight up stubborn, that is what changes people's minds about them. Unless they don't want to change their minds, that's up to them. Joe, I agree with that. And it's good. It's a good gesture from Shedeur, using his platform for the right thing. I always talked about it, Shedeur, doing the little things, doing the intangibles, only play to your favor. And I really thought that was a good gesture from Shedeur, a good move, and a great way for Shedeur to support the Cleveland community, especially after the tragic and unfortunate explosion fire that happened at the Rainbow Terrace Apartments out there in Cleveland. So good to see that from Shedeur. Now, I'll leave it on this. Browns fans and football fans, do you expect to see Shedeur starting this season? I really think it's going to be a year of development for Shedeur and a year of battling it out with Dylan Gabriel. It's, the more as it goes on, I don't know. I've had the same take. I think it's Joe Flacco's job. If Joe Flacco goes in there and starts winning, I don't see Shedeur playing. If Joe Flacco goes there and losing, the door is open for a Gabriel or Shedeur to go in there. That's my take. Let me know in the comments whether you agree or disagree, but nonetheless, great gesture from Shedeur. There. Let's move forward. If you're watching, hit that like button, subscribe, become a member. This has been a great show here on this fine Thursday. Quinn, Joe, Cord, all those in the chat, Roberto, I appreciate you all tuning in here on this fine Thursday. Man, we're almost to football season. We're more than halfway through July. Man, I remember when I was sitting here back in April and sitting here looking at the date saying the same thing. So we're almost to football season. The wait is almost over. Let's go to a list here, and I'll break this down briefly. Let's go to a list here on Big 12 quarterbacks. Now, On3, Andy Staples put out a list, quarterback rankings from the Big 12. Has Sam Levin, Avery Johnson at the top. Devin Dampier. Now, Devin Dampier is Utah's starting quarterback, or who I believe will start for them. I believe off the top of my head, Utah has a Vanderbilt transfer named Nate Johnson, who I believe transferred there as well. But I expect Dampier, who comes from New Mexico, I expect him to start, and he's a great kid. Was on the JB show here about 6 months ago. He's a really, really good kid in the right headspace, and I think will be a great quarterback for them. I think there's a development curve for him going into the Big 12, but nonetheless, he's a great kid. Sawyer Robinson for Baylor, coming back, having a whole offseason to develop with Baylor. I had the voice of the Baylor Bears, John Morris, on to discuss about that. If you haven't, go check that out. Rocco Becht and Iowa State, Hoover and TCU down there. You also got Jalen Daniels, Salter and CU, which I'm going to talk about in a sec, Baron Morton, and then Sorsby and Cincinnati. Now, looking at this initially, my first reaction to this was, and I like Dampier. I think he's a great kid. Dampier is way too high. Jalen Daniels is way too low, in my opinion. I think Jalen Daniels this is a big season for him. He can really, I thought Kansas had a really tough season last year, lost a lot of games by one score. And at the end of the year, our Achilles heel to a lot of teams, including Colorado, for that matter. But I think Jalen Daniels is a better quarterback than fucking seventh in the Big 12. I can tell you that. He's got a great coach over there, Coach Leipold. And I really think Kansas is going to be one of the better teams in the Big 12 and really will turn it around this season. I would move Dampier down and move Jalen Daniels up. I would also move Caden Salter up. But I will note, I think there could be a learning curve with Salter. I really hope Colorado runs the ball for this reason, takes the pressure off him. But I think Salter, you move up just from his experience. He's thrown for over 50 touchdowns, rushed for 20 touchdowns, thrown for over 5,000 yards, etc. He's had a great career in college football. Morton, I wouldn't move him up higher on this list, but I expect him to have a good season. I really think Texas Tech is going to be the team to beat in the Big 12. I wouldn't move him up, though. I think Texas Tech as a team is good. This may be a hot take. I think Avery Johnson might be a better player than Levitt. Just if we're talking quarterbacks, I think you move Avery Johnson ahead of Levitt. Great player, both great players, but I think – it's tough. I think Sam Levitt gets the bump because people don't realize how good Cam Scatterbo was. Cam Scatterbo was a dude for them last year. They don't go. I think Levitt's a great player, but I do think Arizona State, in my opinion, takes a step back this season in the Big 12. I would put Avery Johnson at 1. I think Avery Johnson's a dude. I think Kansas State's always tough as they are every year, but Avery Johnson is a freaking dude. I would put him at 1. I would move Jalen Daniels up. I would move Devin Dampier down. I would also think about moving Sawyer Robertson down and moving Caden Salter up, but I also got to see it with him. But Salter's had the experience, played a lot of college football, so I would seriously look at moving Salter up. Chat, let me know, who would you move on this list? What would you change? Joe Cord said he would have Levitt at 1, Avery Johnson, Dampier, and Jalen Daniels at 4. I would personally move Dampier down. I got to see what he can do in the Big 12 first. I get he was great at New Mexico, but I got to see it with him in a new conference and a new team. Interesting though, folks. Let's go ahead. Let's discuss. Let's talk a little Colorado Buffaloes football here a little bit more before we get out of here. If you're watching, make sure you hit that like button. So Saints star running back Alvin Kamara discussed how he was working with Coach Andrew Swayze, longtime and legendary strength coach this offseason. Take a listen to this.
Time out in Colorado this offseason.
Huh?
More time out in Colorado.
Yeah. I've been in Boulder the whole time, so just out there training. Same thing, like I said, working with Swayze. Just getting it in, man. Feeling good.
Is the altitude helped out there?
Hell yeah, man. I knew it was real, but I never thought I had to deal with it. So I'm like, that shit probably not that real. I got out there, I was walking up the steps in the house, and I thought something was wrong with me. You know what I'm saying? I thought I almost had to go to the hospital, but it's good. It's definitely, I feel like it's giving me a kind of different, something new, something fresh, just like a different little wrinkle in my training, because you can't run away from that elevation. So it's just been kind of helping me. I feel like I'm in a different type of shape.
Yeah, and I think Coach Swayze's impact on Colorado is already being seen even in a short time. I think having an old-time strength coach, long-time strength coach, someone who's been there, done that, put a lot of talent in the NFL, only will benefit Colorado. I had no problem with Coach Mo, and Coach Mo is going to go do great things down at FAMU. He also got an opportunity with the Bill Walsh coaching fellowship over at the Texans, I believe, as well. So Coach Mo doing great things, but I think Coach Swayze already has set the tone. You can't forget his opening meeting with Colorado where he came in and he was like, hey, buckle up. It's time to get ready to go. And this offseason, you really seen that. You've seen Coach Swayze getting after him, really working Colorado and getting them ready for a massive 2025 season. One thing I want to show is Jordan Seaton. Jordan Seaton's been working. By the way, before I show this, Jordan Seaton looks fucking huge, by the way. Jordan Seaton looks great. Jordan Seaton's about to have a massive 2025 season. If you don't know Jordan Seaton's name, you will after this season because he's about to become, if he's not, he should be. You should know his name already. Top 5 tackle in college football. I think he can become one of the best, if not the best, offensive lineman in college football. He looks fucking huge. Coach Swayze's been working him. He's really leaned out, really bulked up this season as well. Man, I can't wait to see Jordan Seaton for Colorado. And Jordan Seaton talked about working with Coach Swayze. Jordan Seaton was working out in his offseason. He said, with Coach Swayze, there's no day off here. Take a listen.
Anytime.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Appreciate you, man.
Oh, man.
Don't wide open for
yes, sir. We got you.
Look at
it's fruiting up. Got to. This was an off day, though.
What is that?
Not for real. People go to media day and it's a day off. You came here and worked.
When you're coaching Swayze, if you give yourself a day off, you just lost all week.
We're not giving a week back.
Yeah. You lose a day with Swayze, you done lost a week.
Oh, man. Here's what I'll say. I've been covering Coach Swayze this offseason. He's been working Colorado, doing his thing as a strength coach. And here's what I don't think people on the outsider's perspective of college athletics really understand. In college football, you spend a lot of time with your strength coach, probably, as much as your head coach, especially in the offseason. That's who you see every single day, oftentimes twice a day. And Coach Swayze, I think, has really, instilled his methods in the Colorado players. Whether Colorado, if you fear him, great. If you like him, great. He's been instilling his methods into Colorado, working them, and I really think it's going to pay off this season for CU. You already see Jordan Seaton looking massive. I think it really is going to pay off for the season for Colorado. One other thing on the Colorado front I wanted to highlight, Phillip Dukes, been on the show, hosts his own show over at Dukes' Scoop. Go check him out. Had Deion Sanders Jr., Bucky, on the show, and Bucky talked about when him and his father are going back to Boulder, and etc. Take a listen.
What's next? Like right now, we know we got football. Where can everybody find you? What should we be expecting on Well Off?
We head back to Colorado next week. It's a blessing. It's been a long journey, long road. And as soon everybody will know, the reason I ain't left this house this summer.
We'll know soon. If you haven't checked that interview out, go head over to Deuce's Scoop and check that out. Phil Dukes is the main man and does his thing, does a great job, hell of a job covering Colorado, Georgia, Auburn, and several other teams. Should see Colorado and Boulder pretty soon. That makes me happy, makes me optimistic as CU gets ready for a massive season in 2025. Folks, it's been a great show here on this fine Thursday. We'll be live next week on Tuesday talking all things college football and NFL. Man, I can't wait for this season. I can't wait to stop reacting to shit and start talking about what actually happened, what actually went down on the field, because I got a lot of predictions. We're going to talk betting. We're going to be live on the weekends, live during college football, during the games. So you guys all come in and talk shit. And you guys are wrong and I'm right. I'm fucking kidding. But it's going to be a great season. I can't wait. Let me know in the chat who's your dark horse for the season in college football. I'd like to hear it. My dark horse has been and will continue to be, even if it's not a dark horse anymore. It's been South Carolina. I really think they're going to be a fucking problem in the SEC. I think Lenora Sellers is going to take that next step this season. I thought they were a pick six roughing the passer away for going to the playoff last year against LSU, because that play literally was the determinant of them not going to the playoff. That's my dark horse this season. Quinn's got Florida. Roberto's got Notre Dame. Notre Dame, interesting. Are you a believer in their new quarterback? I know they got a hell of a run game, but I also thought Riley Leonard at times really was the heart and soul of that Notre Dame team last season. So I wrote, you a believer in the quarterback system? I gotta see it to believe it with Notre Dame. Florida, Quinn, yeah, I think Florida's gonna be legit with Lagway. They're gonna be a freaking problem too. Achilles heel. I think they have a chance to make the playoff for sure if they play their cards right and get through the gauntlet of the schedule they have. I just broke that down on Tuesday. Man, great show, folks. I'll be live tomorrow with Matt Manchesty and Lawrence Vickers over on 0 to 60 talking about things Colorado football. And always fun when Lawrence Vickers joins the show, folks. So go check that out tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Mountain Time. And this has been a great show. Let me know if you want. Let me know what topics you want to hear. Let me know what you want to hear me talk about here in the next few weeks as we get closer to the season. But I appreciate all the support. I appreciate all you guys tuning in. Quinn, Roberto, Joe. I appreciate all you guys tuning in. And I'll see you guys next Tuesday. Thank you guys all for watching. Peace.